with Marco Kinloch, creative director of Roi Du Lac, to know a little bit more about his creative production and the beauty that he brings to this world.
Hi Antonella, thank you very much. I'm flattered and happy to be here today. And I'm the creative director of Roi Du Lac, which is the company I founded about 4 years ago with Antea. Our company focuses mainly on prints, so it's watercolors that I paint and become fabrics. We also have a home section, so we do a lot of interiors such as wallpapers and plates and homeware of various kinds, but our focus is clothing. And these fabrics we do become because these drawings I paint become fabrics. They're either woven or printed or embroidered, and we sell them around the world, especially in the United States, as a matter of fact. But since September, we've opened our first flagship store here in Rome, and we're very satisfied with it. So thank you very much.
I visited the store, and it's really amazing. It's so colorful, and it's certainly like a concept store where you could see a lot of different products other than clothing, and this is very fascinating to me. And you also brought like one piece of your is it coming from your latest collection?
Yes. I wanted just to show a little bit of the process. So, and I'm kind of embarrassed because we framed one of the drawings. I don't normally frame the things I do. This was actually because we needed it to. We kind of renovated a bathroom, and we needed something to throw on top of the toilet. So that's the only reason why it's framed. I don't actually do that with my drawings. But this is like a drawing I watercolored, and here it is how it comes out once it's woven. This is one of the things we do every season. So this is a woven fabric. It's made in Como, literally on the shores of the lake.
Wow.
By this amazing company, and these weaving machines are able to reproduce by the very the detail is incredible. What I love about this fabric, it's not an easy to wear fabric. This is obviously one of our statement pieces, but it's what interesting is how we went all the way in terms of using different materials. So we also gave it like a three-dimensional effect by using. So if you touch it, it actually feels like it's almost.
Yeah, that's incredible.
And this is inspired by one of the icons. The whole latest collection is inspired by Greece. So what we do, it's our system. I kind of have created a system of my own to not to get lost within the creative process, which is I normally choose a place around the world where we travel to. And within that place, we choose a theme. So this specific collection, which is the Fall Winter 21, which was just like in the midst of the sailing campaign, was inspired by Greece as seen through the eyes of Scotland, which is kind of so. There's a hill on top of Edinburgh, which is called the Athens of the North, because it used to be a monument that was built after the Napoleon Wars to commemorate the people that died during the wars, and it's a little Parthenon reconstructed, and it's so that made me think, because when I traveled to Greece this summer, which was the first time in a long time due to the coronavirus pandemic, so I traveled to Greece, which was close and open. It's crazy how much it reminded me of Scotland because of the winds and the wild and the sea. It's a complete different, people wouldn't associate it very easily, but the sheep, the goats, it did remind me somehow of Scotland. So we did this collection inspired by Greece, but with all, the tweed, the tartans, the plaids. It was kind of funny. And one of the things that inspired us is these icons. They're painted on wood, just the face, and on top of it there's like a layer of gold and silver, and we were able to kind of reproduce that with the woven fabric.
That's incredible. It's always so fascinating to know about the creative process behind a collection. I'm sorry, I just want to show the front because this is just gorgeous.
We have more easy to wear pieces, so that I want to make them. And this is not, we don't expect everybody to go around like this every single day. We are a print company, so we don't find, I mean, we do use bold colors and we don't have solids that much, but it's also, but this is also a very specific piece that we do to make it, to make a statement again.
Marco, it really seems like you are able to manage all the aspects of the fashion process, from the drawing to the watercoloring to the designing on the collection to the production, up to all of the fabrics that you said you produce, and I was very surprised, and they're gorgeous. I was wondering, which is the most challenging aspect of your job, because it takes a lot to do all this, so I was curious to know.
To be honest, the most challenging part of my job, it's not the creative aspect, more the entrepreneurial aspect. I don't, my experience in the fashion world is the one of an outsider. I wasn't trained to be a designer, so I don't feel like a designer. I honestly feel more like an artisan in the sense that I learned where my fortes are, where my skills are, and I try to kind of go there as a safety net. So like even the drawings I draw, I have a very naive hand. I'm not a trained illustrator, which I found out that actually helps, because the times, the fact that my drawings are naive in a way, it gives a better, it's less tacky when it comes to a fabric. I don't know how to say that in a different way. We hired a professional illustrator because I was afraid not to be able to do this by myself, because I wasn't able, because since I'm not trained, like I can draw certain things but I cannot draw everything. But the moment someone that knew how to draw properly came and drew things, the resultant fabrics was too intense. This kind of naivety behind the drawings helps a lot the process, and so we decided it was my style, it was good. But I did this company because I needed money and I needed to work. I wasn't there because I'm not the kind of child that grew up reading Vogue in the toilet and said, oh my god, I want to be a designer, and I just wanted to be on a show, and I couldn't care less. And actually I hate being on shows when we do them, and they kind of keep me out of the backstage because I don't like the attention. But I needed to do this because and unfortunately I wasn't even able to do much of anything else. Like I tried to study law, I tried to study history, but I was a bit useless when it came to actually being a student, so I had to kind of make my own living somehow. And that's what the most challenging part is. It's to be a creative mind but also an entrepreneur, so having to deal with suppliers, with employees, with clients, with the bank, with the money. Everything is very complicated and it takes a lot, and there's no like a guidebook. You don't come with like a book that teaches you how to do that. You just go and you learn by doing, and especially from your mistakes. And your mistakes sometimes are very painful, sometimes, but also gives you a lot of opportunities to learn and to grow up. And and it's a challenge. And so yeah, I guess that's what's the most challenging bit. Actually having to go to the companies on Lake Como to do this. It's fun. It's the best part of my job. Like it's what I enjoy. Like exploring, discovering, and experimenting new fabrics. Having to deal with the client or the agent that tells you, "Oh, this is impossible. I'm not going to wear this. This is horrible," and you just spent a lot of money on it. It's just like that's the most complicated bit. But you learn. You learn by doing.
I also would like to know, because I know you've done a lot, and we actually met during Fashion Week, and I also would like to know which are the achievements of being a designer, which are like a few things among the many that you could mention, the ones that you care about.
Well, I wish there were that many. It's not a long list, but achievements in my job, I always have this idea of actually a snowfall is like a valanga, a snowball. I don't know the word. It's a snow. they kind of like you're in the mountains and you run away from it. That's kind of how it feels when you like do my job. Like you always try to run away from the prominent disaster that's coming up. So the achievements to me, more than achievements, actually encouragements. So things that happen that told me you're doing something right. This is because especially at the beginning, and that's the problem. Like I don't want to be here to say I'm the humble guy. My ego is huge. It's not that. But when you get into the fashion world, egos, it's a thing. Like, and you see these people that just are there for the ego. And again, I'm here to sell. So even if my ego is pleased, at the end of the day, I need to make ends meet. So these achievements could be more to me as an encouragement that you were doing something wrong. And of those, I can think of that with the very first collection we did, which was the first I showed in New York City with an agent. That was an achievement that the agent took us on board in New York City. The Bird of Goodman gave us a window on Fifth Avenue. So when we didn't even know that happened. I mean, we knew the bird bored us, but one day a friend walked by the Fifth Avenue window and saw us there with our name next to Prada and Acqua Azzurra, I don't remember who was on the window, and took pictures, and that was kind of exciting. After that, obviously, the clients that bought us in the United States was Saks Fifth Avenue. Then we started doing a collection for Neiman Marcus. We started talking to Barney's, and that was obviously alone to see this and not even to mention 4510, another amazing store across the country that was beautiful. And on top of that, we had newspapers writing about us, and that was like, so we had, Eldecor US, we had AD US. I'm just naming the ones in the US because we also have some other parts of the world where we've been successful. But since we're talking to you guys, I think it's nice to mention the US bit. And this is one side of it, which is obviously very like, to be playing the game with the big names since the very beginning made me think maybe I'm doing something right, especially because I wasn't coming from this business. But what really made me the biggest achievement was to have clients that bought the product, sold it, and bought it again. That was like the proof that at the end of the day, we're doing something right. And I have some clients, Saks is one of those, for instance. Bergdorf is one of those, but especially even smaller, maybe not households name, but very important names in the business. Thinking of this client I have in Memphis, which is a place I never thought I would have visited and I love so much, where I have this client called Joseph's, which is a beautiful boutique store in Memphis. And I travel there twice a year for a trunk show. And I kind of met my clients, and I have this, and I really have these ladies that from Memphis, so chic, so beautiful and elegant, that they come to me and we talk about how they should wear and how should they create outfits. And to me, that's like the most exciting part of my job, to see how people actually relate to what I do. Because the reason why people sometimes ask me if I consider myself an artist, I don't. First, because I do respect art immensely, so I don't convey a message through my drawings. I don't have that. I'm not an artist. I'm not political. I'm not any of that. I just try to make something that looks pretty and people can wear and enjoy. That's all I'm doing here. But to see that means something to somebody, and that someone would actually buy my things in order to feel better about themselves, it's very exciting for me. That's the biggest achievement I ever got. And lately, and I have an immense debt of gratitude to the Roman Fashion Week, Alta Roma, that noticed me, and decided to give me an opportunity by letting me do shows during Fashion Week. So, and that's a very difficult part for an emerging designer, to be able to not only to afford the runway, which is the show itself, it's very expensive and very complicated. But mostly the problem is to actually convince people to come, because obviously I doubt my mom would come to my show. So imagine someone that actually matters in the fashion business. So the fact
You're too modest.
No,
I'm
but
sorry
I mean,
for interrupting you.
but I mean, like, I do believe that the fact that Alta Roma was inviting, the president and owner well, one of the owners, but the president of the Fendi Group, Silvia Venturini Fendi as a president, and so many other journalists and people that actually do count in the fashion business. Was very exciting. And in that respect, Rome, it's a very extraordinary place because we were lucky enough, it was just coincidence, we didn't plan on it, we didn't have a business plan in that respect, but we found ourselves in Rome, which is an incredible place, Rome, because sometimes it is overlooked when it comes to fashion. Because there's Milan, there's Paris, there's New York, and people don't think of Rome as a fashion capital. At the same time, just to name a few, Fendi, Bulgari, Valentino, and Gucci, which are some of the most prominent and incredible brands today, are actually all based out of Rome. So Rome, there's this weird thing that these people live Rome and are in terms of fashion, but actually then move out, like when it comes to the shows and everything. So. But it's kind of exciting to be in Rome, also because opening the store we realized that because there's not as much entrepreneurial fashion drive here in the city in terms of that, compared to Milan and Paris and New York, obviously, or London also, Berlin these days. It's easier to be noticed, so it was a great opportunity for us to be noticed.
Marco, you mentioned earlier that this beautiful fabric was made in Como, and I was curious to know about the rest of the collection. Where do you actually manufacture your products?
Well, we manufacture ourselves. We actually have our own little factory in the north of Italy, an hour away outside of Milan. So where our pattern maker, the seamstresses, everybody actually works there to make our clothes. And it was a bold choice to make because no one does that anymore these days. But we decided to do it because we figured something out in the early stage. So our forte were the prints. So when it comes to prints, in order to translate the prints, we had to go to someone that had a weaving machine, someone had a printing machine, someone that had the embroideries. We needed to source the fabric. And so what designers normally do, I don't know if normally, but what my impression was that most designers buy the fabrics, which are already been designed by the same factories I go to with my designs. They buy them and then they take them to a factory that manufactures the clothes, because what the focus is the body, the fit, the way that it's done. So, and they need someone that is able to do all those fits. So it needs a real factory to do those. Our fits are extremely simple and almost every time the same. We do add a few new ones every now and then, but it's the focus is the fabric. And when we were doing that, we did begin going to other manufacturers, but the problem was where we had no control over the process, because from the fabric to the making of the garment, we always needed to trust someone else. And although Italy is an amazing country, it's also the Italians haven't for a name for being a little bit unreliable, and there is a reason behind that. So, oh yes, we shipped everything yesterday. Can you 5 days later? Where is it? Oh, it's on the way, but it's UPS. They deliver the following day, and you have this conversation that with your American clients based on what the supplier is telling you. But you're just lying to them because they're lying to you, and you're not aware of being lying. And after a while, this becomes a problem. And also, then there's also never and also they rarely take responsibility for the mistakes. So you finally get the order, and 10% of it's wrong, and there's no way to get it. So that is still a thing. But I needed to, and obviously it doesn't apply to every supplier. I've got some amazing professional suppliers, some more, some less. But I wanted to limit. I need to have more control over what I was doing. And also because the thing that's very difficult when you start as a designer and try to build your own house is the samples. So every season you have to show samples, and the amount of money you spend on samples can vary from 40k to 100k for each season, and we have from 2 to 6 seasons a year. It's a lot of money, especially if you're an independent emerging brand, and if you're poor like I am. So that's like also another issue, because if I was a billionaire, it wouldn't be that much of a problem. But that's also what we realized. We realized that by the same amount of money we were investing on doing the samples for the sales campaign, the one because what you do the samples of your collection, you go to a showroom during Fashion Week, which is 6 months before the actual garments land in the stores, and you basically show your products to the buyers that come and see it. But those products you show, you cannot sell, and they just kind of like, it's money you invest. And companies, manufacturers, charge you much more for the samples than they actually do for production. So we realized that by the same amount of money we were doing samples and production, just the samples, not even counting on production, we could afford both production and samples with our own company. And that was also something incredible, because we were actually giving jobs to people that didn't have jobs, because the all manufacturing area around Milan has been, we went from 500 manufacturers in just one district to 20 over 30 years, because now people produce abroad. They don't produce in Italy anymore as much. So there's a lot of amazing people that had amazing skill but couldn't find jobs anymore. And I'm very proud to say this about my team, because when in the first outspring of the COVID pandemic, when Italy was the only Western country to be in the midst of it, looked by all the others with kind of fear, and also being judged for not being able to, contain this. The very first place was a little town called Codogno, which is in the north of Italy, and it's exactly 5 miles away from the town I have a Marito factory in. So imagine these my seamstresses scared to death, because we did not know what was happening. People were dying, and they decided to go every day to work, no matter what, just because they knew that we had a client in Idaho, in Sun Valley. So that she was very particular client, and she would not tolerate a 1 day delay. So even if I didn't ask them to, because she had tolerated, we knew that because in the previous 2 seasons that we were not producing ourselves, she went mad because of the delays and the mistakes. So we knew not to lose this big client, we had to do it properly. And so they went to work every single day, scared for their lives because they had no idea, but just grateful because they were back to work and they were doing what they loved. And the amount of passion and the amount of love I see from my team, because every time I don't know anything about clothing, and my pattern maker sits with me and gives me advice. So do my seamstresses and everybody, and it's really super exciting. And everybody, I'm talking about, but not to mention my team in Rome. We're not a big team. We're talking about 2 people in Rome, and 4 or 5 in 5 people in this town called Pizzighettone near Milan. But I'm very, you asked my achievement. One of the achievements, going back to your previous question, is to have built in time an amazing team that I wouldn't be able to do anything without them. So that's also been, going back to your previous question. I hope that answers your question.
Of course. Marco, we've been talking about these incredible things, and I'm so happy that I now know more about your team, because it's such a great story about passion and resilience and made in Italy, and it was literally so valuable for me to know about all of these aspects of your job. But I have one last curiosity. Why Roi Du Lac? Is a name that fascinates me. Where it comes from?
Well, Roi Du Lac, it's French for King of the Lake, and it's very simple actually. So I'm from the Veneto, which is in the northeast of the country. So I was born and raised in Italy, but my dad is Scottish, so from Glasgow. But his family originally, I suppose, I imagine, was from the Highlands, from the north of Scotland. Somehow this had a huge impact on my upbringing, and I was, always was like a little bit cross worlds in a way. And although I don't know Scotland that well, I always have a huge fascination for it, and I travel there a lot. I go there now that as an adult, I go there every summer, and So Kinloch is my name. My name is Marco Kinloch Herbertson, and Kinloch means King of the Lake. So we wanted to register Kinloch as a first thing, but it's already registered by a company in Scotland that does Highlands wear, clothing for the Highlands. So basically skirts for men, and so I couldn't use it, and we wanted to translate it into Italian, Re del Lago, but it was a little bit complicated, didn't come across. So we translated it into Roi Du Lac, which is French and sounds posh because it's French, and we had a little frog with a crown, and we have this little motto that we have on our on not the ribbon, which the thing to pack the nastro ribbon.
Yes.
Okay, so we have this ribbon that we say we are an Italian brand with a Scottish heritage, a French name, and Rome is home. This became a little bit our motto. Now, which is kind of nice because and it's a bit what we are, and that's also, I think, going back to the flagship store that I'm glad you like in Rome. It also is a little bit of a unique place in the city because of the way it's done. It's very much us. It's a mix of, and Antea, she's Sicilian. She's an aristocrat. She's come from this very important family from Sicily, and like everything Sicilian, it's a little bit of a fainted glory, but with a lot of snobism, and she's very classy and entitled, and so thanks God she's around, because she's the only one that otherwise it wouldn't take us seriously, and she's the one that manages the company. But you kind of think you can breathe a little bit of that atmosphere when you come to our store. It's a little bit French, a little bit English, Scottish, a little bit Sicilian aristocracy. It's a weird little thing, and of its own. And so I think I think people are relating to that very well.
Marco, thank you so much for being with us today. I'm very happy that you accepted to come, and it was great to know everything about your brand, and I cannot wait for the Rome program to reopen, to actually bring our students to your beautiful concept store to visit and touch with their hands these incredible creations that really make a difference in the world of fashion. We don't see them commonly, so I was very impressed.
Maybe there's a reason for that, that you don't see them. Maybe I shouldn't do them either.
Maybe because they're very special, and I think you have a very distinctive voice, and
Thank you very much.
I'm happy that you shared your voice and your vision with us.
It was a privilege, and it was amazing to be here. I'm very flattered, and I hope it serves the purpose of, if it, in any way. I mean, I thank you very, very much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.